Rain had the worst childhood ever. We're talking poverty, neglect, and watching his whole family get burned alive by a demon. Talk about trauma. Then this poor kid joins a hero's party only to get treated like absolute garbage. The final straw? The party leader kicks him out after hooking up with Rain's mom, then has the nerve to call her a traitor. Rain wasn't having any of that. He decked the guy right in the face and stormed off. But here's the plot twist. Rain was playing them the whole time. This dude was secretly crazy powerful with a system that could tame any supernatural creature. Plus he had this forbidden ability that could literally destroy the world. Talk about keeping your cards close. So after finally getting enough cash for his first meal in 2 weeks, he hears this girl screaming. He rushes over and finds this absolute smoke show of a cat girl about to become tiger food. Rain tries to be the hero, but his weapon literally snaps in half and he gets yeeted into a tree. Just as he's about to become Tiger Chow himself, the cat girl goes Super Saiyan on this tiger, jumps sky high and delivers this epic dropkick that lays the beast out cold. Turns out she's a cat spirit, literally the rarest supernatural species in existence. She collapses into Rain's arms, and her last words are that she wants his meat. Wait, what? LOL, no, she was just starving. Girl starts wolfing down food, telling Rain her name's Konid, one of the last cat spirits alive. She even calls him ugly to his face, but seems happy he saved her. As they head back to the Adventurers Guild, Rain spills his tragic backstory, and Konid's actually the first person who ever bothered to listen. When he's done, she feels bad for him but thinks he's super strong despite what he says. She even offers to let him tame her because she believes he's the only human capable of it. So Rain does this whole blood ritual thing, biting his finger and chanting a spell. Magic seals wrap around Konid until one forms on her arm, binding them together. Rain can't believe he actually tamed a cat spirit. She grabs his hand and they run off together. At the guild, this chick named Ruby congratulates him on finishing his first quest and getting promoted to F rank, but she still throws shade, wondering how an ugly, stinky loser like him could hang with such a hottie. Rain earns 50 copper pieces, but it's not enough for a room, and Ruby just has to rub it in that no girl would rent with someone who smells as bad as him anyway. Suddenly, a jerk approached them, saying he'd never seen a cat spirit before and told her to ditch the ugly scum she was with. His words made Konid yell at the man that Rain was her strong, handsome master, but the man just laughed in his face, thinking it was impossible for someone so weak to tame the rarest supernatural species. Kanade tells him that Rain is stronger than him, so the man challenges him to a hand fight to test his so-called power, and he tells her that Kanade will be the prize for the winner. He continues to taunt Rain. Rain thinks that if he doesn't take the challenge, the man will likely come after Kanade in the future, so he accepts. The man tells him not to cry if he gets his arm broken. Immediately after the fight starts, Rain uses all his might to snap the man's arm down and break the table, shocking everyone, including himself. Kanade raises Rain's hand happily and announces him as the winner. The man lies on the floor, screaming in pain from a broken hand. Natalie walks in to see what the commotion is about and realizes it is the usual troublemaker. She apologizes to Rain, and she tells him that the guild was aware of the man causing trouble and that they've been contemplating suspending his license. As the man writhes in pain, he grabs Natalie's skirt, making her angry. She grabs a table and hits him on the head. As Natalie turns to leave, she asks him sternly how he contracted an ultimate species during his test. Rain and Kanade are afraid that she is angry, but she apologizes to them. She tells him happily that they expect good things from him now that he has a strong partner. Natalie picks up the passed out man and drags him out as she leaves. Rain looks at his hand and wonders how he won. Kanade tells him that when he is contracted to an ultimate species, it amplifies his power. She tells him that he is as strong as her right now. Rain says he had no idea because he had never met anyone contracted to an ultimate species before. Kanade says she was happy when he stood up for her. In excitement, she tells him that they should go do their job as adventurers now. A few hours later, Kanade is seen disappointed because they were picking herbs, and she thought they'd be doing something exciting. She screams at him in frustration and says they're supposed to be rescuing a princess or hunting for a legendary sword. Rain tells her that he is at the bottom, which means basic jobs for now. She gets powered up and promises to get all the herbs so they can increase rank. She turns around to see him commending the rabbits for bringing the herbs they needed. She tells him sadly that she was hoping to get the herbs and screams at the rabbits for hogging all the attention, as she also wanted a pat on the head. Rain tells her they need to return to the guild, but Kanade tells him that she senses something, and they run to check it out. They see a group of gangs, the Ebon Fangs, picking on an old merchant. Kanade tells Rain that they are a ruthless gang with over 100 men. He tells her they need to stop them. Rain says he will jump in and handle them while she takes care of the old man. They both charge in, and while Rain continues to fight them off, Kanade goes to protect the old man. She turns to stare at Rain and thinks that he will make a very good beast tamer one day, but she is afraid that because of her power, he may not be able to control it or that it might break his mind. She thinks it might be safer for them if she fights instead of him. As she continues to stare at his fight, he handles himself well, and she can't help but admire him, forgetting herself in the moment. Rain finished his fight and called out to her. That's when she realized she was supposed to be protecting the man. Rain notices the redness on her face and asks worriedly if she is hurt. Kanade is embarrassed and tells him it is amazing that he fought without weapons. Rain explained that they were trained in martial arts so that they could tame animals without hurting them with weapons. The old man thanked them for saving him. Rain asked him why he was traveling traveling alone. The old man told him he contracted guards, but they ran away as soon as they saw the gang. He told them that he was worried that the gang would come for revenge once they heard of this. Rain says if they are that dangerous, then he needs to capture all of them. The old man and Kanade are shocked. Kanade runs after him as he leaves. Later, on their way to the gang's hideout, Kanade tries to dissuade him, but he tells her that if they run, the merchant may end up killed instead. Kanade is still scared, but Rain says he has a plan. They reach the hideout and Rain thanks a squirrel for leading them there. Kanade is frustrated because she wanted to find the hideout, but the squirrel bested her to it. Rain tries to cheer her up and tells her that she has been of great help. She asks about his plan, and Rain explains that he made a contract with AHRB. They have a paralytic sting that puts anyone down for 12 hours. Kanade is surprised and tells him she thought bees were considered insects, so how can he tame them? Rain explains to her that he learned how to become an insect tamer too. Kanade is amazed that he has those skills, and tells him that he is full of surprises. Rain says he will send the bees inside the hideout, and he tells her to go into town and get help. Kanade gets sad again and tells him that he is always doing the heavy lifting, and she wonders if she is really of any help to him. Rain assures her that she is helpful. She asks him what he meant earlier by bringing help, and Rain tells her to bring some adventurers and also report to the knights. He says they are tasked with maintaining peace, so they will come if she tells them about the bandits. She tells him to be careful and Rain promises to run if things get out of hand, and she leaves. The bee that he signed a contract with arrived with a bunch of others, and Rain also entered into a contract with them. In another part of town, Mina and Lean are seen heaving out of breath. Mina tells her that no one followed them. It turns out that they were the ones who ran away when the Ebon Fangs were threatening the old man. Then tells her she thought it was a way to make quick money, but they had to run into a bunch of bandits. She says she wishes they went with Arios and Agath to hang out with nobles instead. Mina tells her she was the one who said it was a waste of time before. Lean tells her she still thinks it is a waste of time, and she doesn't get why they have to suck up to rich people who are not even royalty. She angrily grabbed the young beast tamer they brought in to replace Rain. She tells him that he couldn't even buy them time and ran away first. The man tells them that he is a beast tamer and cannot fight. Mina asks why he didn't scout the area properly. She says he only contracted one squirrel. Lean says he should have contacted about 20 of them. The man is shocked and tells her that is not possible. He says most people can't even talk less often at once. He says beast tamers tame one beast at a time, and if they tried to tame more than one at a time, it would destroy their nervous system. Lean remembers that Rain can tame dozens of beasts at the same time. She threatens the boy with her magic and tells him that he should take the blame for the failed mission, and nobody can ever know that they were involved. The boy fearfully agrees and runs away. Mina starts to talk about Rain, but Lean cuts in and leaves as she also thinks about Rain and doesn't want to believe what the boy said. Inside the cave, the bees have totally paralyzed the gang. Rain thanks them and breaks the contract. Then out of nowhere, Kanade shows up with backup. The adventurers are super impressed that Rain handled the gang all by himself and tell him they'll take it from here. He thanks them and looks around, noticing the knights aren't there. Turns out they straight up refuse to come. Rain gives Kanade a head pat and thanks her for the help, and she's just beaming with happiness. But wait, suddenly the cave starts shaking like crazy, and there's this deep rumbling sound coming from inside. Then boom, giant king lizards break out of their cages. Rain is completely shocked. What are C-ranked monsters doing here? One of the gang members spills that they keep these monsters around for emergencies. He tries ordering them to attack, but plot twist, one of the monsters instantly kills him and starts going after everyone in the cave. Rain throws a punch at one of them and drops it like it's nothing. Kanade also starts taking these monsters down, and the adventurers are just standing there with their jaws on the floor watching these two go to work. Rain tells them to clear out and leave the monsters to them. While they're fighting, Rain realizes his old self would have been totally useless in this situation, but with Kanade by his side, he feels absolutely unstoppable. Outside the cave, everyone's wondering if our dynamic duo got killed, but then they walk out like total bosses. The crowd goes wild with cheers. Rain can't believe he's the same guy who got kicked out of the hero party. He looks at Kanade, thanks her for being there, and tells her he feels like he can do anything with her around. Kanade is absolutely thrilled. That evening, Kanade jumps onto the bed, super excited to sleep on an actual mattress, but Rain just freezes at the door, freaking out that they'll have to share a room. He explains what led to this awkward situation. Taking out the gang was considered such a big deal that hauling in all the captured baddies kept them busy until late. Then they got called to the guild for their reward. They scored a ton of cash and got promoted to E rank. They celebrated with new gear and a feast, then tried to book 2 separate rooms, but the innkeeper was like, sorry, only got 1 room left, and practically dragged him there. Kanade breaks his train of thought, telling him to try out the bed, but he tries to bail, saying he'll camp outside. Kanade stops him, pointing out they already paid for a whole week. Rain gets all serious, saying he can't sleep in the same room as a girl, and warns her not to trust anyone, not even him, since he's basically still a stranger. As he turns to leave, Kanade says something that hits him right in the feels. She trusts him completely. She insists they're comrades even though they just met and can't let him sleep outside. Rain's touched by this and decides to stay, especially since there are 2 separate beds. He watches her excitedly checking out the room with pride. That night, Kanade watches Rain sleep and thinks about what a good dude he is. She explains that cat spirits like her are super rare, which is why humans are always trying to capture her, for money, greed, or glory. But Rain was totally different. He was just surprised to meet her and tried to save her out of pure kindness. She loves how he genuinely wanted to get to know her. She notices that even though being kicked out of his party still hurts him, he never shows it and just keeps smiling. She makes a promise to herself to keep that smile on his face. Fast forward a week, and our duo is happily picking herbs together. Rain narrates that they've been living their best adventurer life. Later that day at the guild, Natalie tells them about this guard dog of Stridebridge who's been picking fights with anyone trying to cross. The weird part? This guard dog hasn't killed anyone, they just bail once they feel they've won. She begs them to take the job. Rain asks if E-ranked adventurers can handle it, and she's like, anyone can try, and the reward is 5 gold pieces. They're both like, whoa, and immediately take the job. When they get to the bridge, Kanad's all excited because it's her first time there. Rain explains it's the only way to travel between the central continent and their town, Horizon, on the southern continent. Kanad's just taking in all the sights in complete awe. She asks what kind of person this guard dog might be. Rain's also curious since all the witnesses are alive but totally tight-lipped about who it is. Suddenly, Kanade points to something in the sky. It's a freaking dragon. It comes racing toward them and lands with a massive explosion. When the dust clears, a young girl walks out and challenges them to a fight. They're completely shocked that the dragon is actually a girl. Rain asks if she's the one causing chaos on the bridge, and she proudly confirms it. She introduces herself as Tanya of the ultimate species, the Dragonoids, and explains the bridge is her training ground. Kanade tells Rain that Dragonoids have to go on strength-building journeys when they turn 15. Tanya says she's been looking for someone strong to fight, and these two will do just fine. She's not leaving until they throw down. Rain's panicking about fighting a Dragonoid when Kanad reminds him that she's an ultimate species too. Tanya tries to land a punch on Rain, but he catches her fist mid-air, impressing her with his speed. She still manages to knock him back and says he passed the first test. Then she breathes fire all over them. They dodge, but poor Kanad's tail gets singed. She jumps around in pain while Rain rushes to put it out. Kanad gets super mad about her tail and charges at Tanya. Rain watches in amazement as the two match each other's strength blow for blow. He decides to jump in, and they both attack Tanya together, but she's just too strong. She grabs Rain by the arms and Kanad by the foot, spins them around, and launches them into the air before blasting them with fire. When the smoke clears, Tanya is shocked to see them totally fine. Turns out they used their feet to boost themselves out of harm's way. Tanya admits they've lasted longer than anyone else. Rain realizes they need a plan to beat someone this powerful, so he asks Kanad to buy him 3 minutes. Rain searches for birds to tame. Tanya wonders how long Kanad can last, and Kanade accidentally blurts out that Rain has a plan. Oops, that was supposed to be a secret. Rain focuses his power, finds a bird, and casts a spell, telling it to bring friends. When he returns, he tells Kanad he'll handle the rest. Tanya asks if she's fighting him next, but he says, nope, you're fighting these birds. A flock swoops in and starts pecking Tanya all over. They can't hurt her, but it's super annoying. She swats them away and mocks Rain's pathetic attempt, but when she tries to attack, bam, she falls to the ground, unable to move. Rain introduces her to the birds. They're called Pedo, and their bright tails mean they're poisonous. The poison won't kill her, but will keep her down for a while. Tanya finally admits defeat, and our duo hugs and celebrates their victory. Rain tells Tanya she needs to come with them. She thinks he wants to sell her, but he just wants to talk and make her promise not to block the bridge again. Tanya asks what if she refuses, and Rain just laughs, saying he'd be in real trouble then. Tanya grumbles, calling him weird and saying he should have just tried to sell her instead. Kanad pinches her arm and tells her not to cause trouble for Rain. Tanya quickly agrees, screaming in pain and begging her to stop. They report back to the guild, and Natalie screams in surprise when she hears they chased the guard dog away. She commends him and says he will get his reward once they confirm his story. She then points and asks him who Tanya is. Rain awkwardly blocks her view, but Natalie notices the tail and horns, and Rain panics and says she is wearing a costume. Tanya pushes him out of the way and tries to introduce herself, but Rain covers her mouth and drags her out. Outside, he tells her she can never tell anyone. She is the guard dog, but he turns around to see that Tanya is gone, and she is asking a knight to fight her. A group of children looks at the tail in astonishment, and again she tries to expose herself, but Rain and Kanad cut in and stop her. They get her somewhere private and warn her not to say a word to anyone again. Rain tells her to get away from the town and that they won't hurt her, but she has to promise not to do anything like this again. They ask her why the men she attacked didn't expose her identity. Tanya says that they were not happy about being beaten by a girl. Tanya is surprised that Rain refused to hand her over to be arrested. They ask what she planned to do about her training, and she said she had decided to join them. The duo is shocked and asks why. Tanya tells them it was fun hanging out with them. She then hugs Rain and tells him she likes him. Kanade screams at her to let him go. Tanya starts to make fun of her. Rain says he doesn't mind having Tanya in their group, and Kanade, now irritated, also says she is fine with it. Tanya asks Rain to form a contract with her. Ren casts the spell as usual, and Tanya says her name, sealing the contract. Kanad tells her to check her palm, and she does. She looks at it and says she feels connected to him. Rain can't believe that he contracted 2 ultimate species. Tanya pinches his face to bring him back to reality. That evening, Arios becomes enraged over their week-long stay in the woods. For no apparent reason, they are all exhausted. The fact that they must perform all of Rain's previous tasks is raised. Arios promises to bring him back and fake an apology. He reminds them that Rain is ridiculously nice. He continues, saying they can simply dump him once more after the lost wood is cleared out. At the inn, as Rain sleeps peacefully on the floor, the girls bicker with each other about who gets to watch Rain sleep. After Tanya joined the group, their first job was eradicating slime. Tanya uses fire to burn them, while Kanade searches for them. Rain explains that slimes are F-ranked monsters that anyone can beat, so most adventurers don't bother with them. But when left unattended for long, slimes multiply and ravage farms. Kanade tells Tanya that she doesn't like fighting slime, as they get all sticky. Tanya tells her to leave them to her. All she has to do is mow them all with fireballs. Kanade is thrilled and thanks her. They continued to chatter happily as Rain looked at them, happy that they were getting along. The trio looked for slimes, but with no luck, so Rain called a bird and told the girls that he would assimilate and search by himself. He casts a spell and faints, shocking the girls. They get very worried, but they hear his voice as the bird speaks. He tells them that he just transferred his consciousness to the bird, which allows him to use the bird's body. Rain says it is called assimilate, one of the Beastmaster's skills. The girls are surprised that he can do that. Rain tries to tell them that most beast tamers can do it, but they scream at him, telling him it is not true. Rain flies away and tells them to take care of his body. Later on, they found a large pool of slime. Kanade tries to attack them, but Tanya stops her. She asked Rain if he knew how to cast spells. He tells her that he can do the little kinds of stuff like heal and fireball. He says he tried to learn a long time ago, but those two were all he could muster. Tanya tells him to attack the pool of slime with his fireball. Rain tells her that his fireball is not powerful enough, but she pushes him to try. Rain focuses and casts the spell, sending a huge fireball that wipes out all of the slime. Rain and Kanade are shocked. Tanya explained that since his contract with Kanade gave him her strength, it means his contract with her gave him the magical abilities of a dragonoid. She says her fire is also powered by magic, and adds that dragon magic is the second most powerful among the ultimate species. Rain doesn't understand a word, she says. Just then, more slimes gathered again, so Tanya said they would use them for Rain's practice. She tells him that since he can't control the magic yet, he should still try since he is their master. Rain gets powered up, decides to do it, and thinks he doesn't want to embarrass the ultimate species that chose him. He asks Tanya to be his teacher, and she agrees. They start the practice, but Tanya is a very strict teacher, and Rain is exhausted, but more slime turns up. Later on at the guild, the girls wait outside for Rain. A child walks up to them and asks about what they hunted today, and they tell her that they got a bunch of slime. They continue to discuss until Rain comes out. He tells them that they got paid a lot, so they head to the market to buy supplies and food. Rain looks at the girls as they go around. He explains that people believe it when they tell them that Tanya is an odd girl in a dragonoid costume. They go to a restaurant to eat, and Tanya and Kanade eat a whole bunch of food, way too fast. Rain just looks at them, amazed. They thank him for the food, and he thanks them for working so hard. He also thanked Tanya for teaching him earlier. She asks him where he learned to tame beasts, and Kanade says she is also curious. Rain tells them about his village, and the story goes back in time to when he was just a little boy. He said his parents were also beast tamers, so he was always learning. He also learned about insect taming from someone in the village. It was a small village without a name. He sadly says that the village doesn't exist anymore. Kanade apologizes for making him remember a sad memory, but he tells her it is alright. The girls both tell him that they asked because they wanted to know more about him, and he adds that if it is too painful, then he doesn't have to talk about it. He tells them that he wants them to know, so he starts to recount his childhood. One when Rain was 12 years old. His parents were busy that day, so they couldn't watch him practice. He went to the outskirts of his village and practiced till late at night. When it got dark, he turned and saw that the sky was red towards the village, but when he arrived, the village was already burned to the ground with everyone in it. The village has been attacked by monsters. Adventurers rescued him and took him into custody. They left him at an inn that belonged to her friend. He had to work for them to earn his keep. He had to struggle to survive, until half a year ago when he met the hero party. Adios was looking for a comrade and asked him to join them. He joined them happily, thinking he could make a difference there, but the reality was different from what he expected, as all they did was use him for menial jobs. Rain finished narrating his story and apologized for burdening them. Kanade grabbed his hands and said she wondered where he got the courage to fight since the day she met him, but now she realizes that he just doesn't want anyone to go through what he did, so he tries to help everyone, making him pleased. Tanya also joins her hands in and tells him that he is too kind for his own good and way too earnest. She adds calmly that it is not a bad thing. Tanya doesn't like getting emotional, so she closes her eyes and quickly adds that she is proud to have him as a master. Rain remembers all he went through with the hero party, and as he looks at the girls, tears fill his eyes. The girls startle him as they get angry on his behalf with the hero party. They continue to rant, but Rain tries to calm them down. The girls start to bicker and tease themselves as Rain looks at them happily and wishes things would remain just as they are. So the next morning, these guys get a new mission, hunting orcs. They're E-rank monsters, not super strong but pretty smart since they use weapons and stuff. Kanade decides to make things interesting and challenges Tanya to see who can take down more orcs. Tanya's totally down for it, and they both charge in, but Tanya just unleashes this massive fire attack that wipes out a bunch of orcs in one go. Pretty unfair, right? They keep crushing these monsters without breaking a sweat, turning it into this heated competition. Rain tries to warn them not to get too carried away. away. But Tanya interrupts him, getting all cocky about her skills. The girls just ignore his advice and continue their little contest while Rain hopes everything will be okay. As they're fighting, Tanya's like, "This is way too easy." Then she spots an orc still moving and goes to check it out. She tries to blast it, but the thing grabs her leg and pulls her down. The orc almost gets her, but she manages to hit it with a fireball. But then, bam, another one sneaks up behind her. It's about to attack when Rain jumps in and takes the hit on his arm. Kanad rushes over and finishes the orc off. Tanya freaks out over Rain's wound, but he calmly performs a healing spell, fixing himself up right in front of her. Even though he's fine, Tanya feels terrible because he warned her, and she totally ignored him. Kanad tells Rain to rest while she runs off to collect the magic stones from the orcs. After turning in the stones at the guild, Rain asks Kanade where Tanya went. Turns out she just took off, feeling super down about what happened. Tanya's standing on this bridge, lost in her thoughts, when that little girl from before comes up and asks what monsters they beat today. Tanya sadly says she beat nothing. The little girl notices Tanya's mood and asks if she's hurting somewhere, saying her mom always tells her to talk about it when something hurts. Tanya tells her that her mom is really wise and thanks her for caring. After the girl leaves, Tanya keeps beating herself up about ignoring Rain's warnings. Suddenly, Rain shows up and asks what's wrong. Tanya stumbles over her words before finally apologizing for what happened. But instead of being mad, Rain just pats her head and tells her to stop worrying about it. She's shocked he's not angry, and he says he's just glad she's safe. Then Kanade runs over and hugs Tanya while crying. At that night, Rain asks the innkeeper if there's finally another room available, but no luck. While they're arguing, Tanya watches Rain, amazed he didn't yell at her earlier. Later, as Rain sleeps on the floor, Tanya can't stop thinking about how uncomfortable it must be, yet he let them take the beds. She realizes she might have feelings for him but tries to deny it, telling herself she's just being nice. She tucks his covers around him and smiles. The next morning, the three of them are walking along, and Kanade's singing this happy, successful job song. Tanya agrees they've been crushing their quests and suggests it's time to get Rain some weapons. Rain says they can pick some up when they get back. They're all chatting happily when suddenly Rain freezes. He's spotted the hero party. Rain sighs and tells the girls they should take another route, but Aryo stops him, telling him not to be so cold. He gives this fake apology, saying that even though Rain was useless, they should have been nicer about kicking him out. This makes Rain furious. Tanya and Kanade step in, and Arios is about to tell Tanya off when he realizes they're ultimate species. He's totally shocked and asks what they're doing there. Kanad tells him they're Rain's comrades, and Arios assumes Rain must be serving them. Kanad gets mad and corrects him. Rain is their master. The hero party can't believe it. Rain asks what they want, and Arios explains they tried to go through the lost woods but kept going in circles and had to turn back after a week. He then offers Rain his old job back, taming beasts to explore and carry their stuff. Rain, absolutely furious, asks if they really think he'd agree to that. Arios says he should feel honored, and the rest of his team piles on. Agath says Rain might be useless in combat but has a few uses. Mina agrees, and Lean tells him he's lucky they'd even consider someone as pathetic as him. Rain tells them he's not interested. As they're turning to leave, Mina stops them and explains they need the Shield of Truth from the Lost Woods to defeat the Demon King, or monsters will take over the world. Rain remembers his village and doesn't want that to happen, so despite how they treated him, he agrees to help. Arios gets all smug, saying he should have agreed from the start, and they all start insulting him again. But Kanade steps in with this super calm face and says she won't stop Rain from working with them, but they have to apologize first. Arios laughs and claims he already did. Tanya tells them they need to grovel since they were wrong and now want a favor. She adds that she'd normally just fry them with fire, but since Rain wouldn't like that, they just need to bow their heads and beg. Arios is outraged and says a hero would never grovel to a nobody like Rain. The others back him up. Then Arios grabs Rain by the shirt and starts saying awful things about the girls. Before he can finish, Rain punches him right in the face. The hero party just stands there with their mouths open. Arios can't believe Rain hit him, and Rain says he'll do it again if needed. He says Kanade and Tanya are precious to him, and anyone who mocks them will pay. Arios challenges them to a fight, and Rain agrees. Agath versus Kanade, Lean and Mina versus Tanya, and Arios versus Rain. Agath tells Kanad he's been wanting to fight an ultimate species. Kanad goes off on him and promises to beat him black and blue. She charges at him with these super fast blows that he barely blocks with his sword. He's shocked by her speed and strength. She taunts him, making him furious, so he uses his special move, fire and brimstone slashes, but Kanad deflects it easily. She looks disappointed and says she thought his power would be something serious. Agath boasts he'll use his full power now, and Kanade says she'll use half of hers. He freaks out, realizing she wasn't even using half her power this whole time. He's already given up, but starts trash-talking Rain, so Kanad knocks him out with one blow. Even she admits she might have gone overboard. Meanwhile, Tanya's taunting Lean and Mina, making them angry. They cast spells at her, but she just dispels them with a finger flick and laughs. They try working together, but the same thing happens again. When they ask how she did it, Tanya explains she used Material Canceller, which analyzes spells and cancels them out, meaning their magic can't touch her. Lean gets mad and calls her a lizard, and Mina says the hero party fears nothing. They keep casting more spells with the same result until they're completely exhausted, but still talking big. Tanya tells them Rain will tame thousands thousands of beasts someday. They try one final spell with all their might, but she dispels it with another finger flick, and they collapse from exhaustion. Tanya angrily tells them they can't get away with hurting her master, and says they're about to see real magic. She starts casting this powerful spell called Ultimate End, and wishes them a good death. The girls scream and beg for mercy, but then Tanya makes a bomb sound with her mouth and says she was just joking, but they're already white with fear and pass out. Arios is there bragging about being this amazing hero when Rain just straight up punches him in the face. Arios is like, dude, I was talking, and Rain's just, yeah, don't care. Then Arios pulls out his sword and starts attacking like crazy. Rain notices how fast this guy moves, and thinks his swordplay is actually pretty sick, but compared to fighting Tanya, this is nothing. Rain catches Arios by the wrist and asks if that's all he's got, and Arios is totally shocked. Rain lands this devastating punch that sends Arios flying. Arios can't believe how strong Rain is, but Rain doesn't stop there. He goes for another hit, but Arios dodges it this time. As Arios keeps attacking, Rain explains he got his power from Kanad and drops this knowledge bomb. I'm a beast tamer, dude. I study my targets. I've been watching your moves since we first met, so I know what you're gonna do before you do it. Then out of nowhere, Arios throws this ball of lightning that explodes right in front of Rain, shouting about his special hero magic. Arios keeps throwing different magic spells, but Rain counters with fireballs and dodges everything else. Rain's thinking this magic battle might be tough, so he goes with what he knows best. When Arios charges at him again, the guy suddenly freezes up and drops to his knees. That's when Rain introduces him to Arby, a bee he tamed during their sword fight. Arios is like, you tamed a bee? Who does that? Rain tells him he lost and reminds him how angry he still is about Arios mocking Kanad and Tanya. Arios starts begging, talking about their journey together, but Rain's not having it and knocks him out cold. Rain's just standing there smiling, totally satisfied with his revenge, when the girls come running over, waving happily, and they all hug it out, laughing together. Next up, our trio is in the Lost Woods, and it's dark even during daytime. Tanya suggests they just burn the whole forest down, but Rain's like, no way, it's full of life. Rain checks the map the hero party made, but says it's useless now since the woods change paths. They need to find the shield of truth that only the hero can use, because they took on this contract. Flashback to after the fight, the hero party is hanging their heads, apologizing, while Tanya makes them do it over and over. Kanade asks Rain if they should forgive them, and he agrees. Arios is totally seething but plays along. He tells them the shield of truth is with some monsters deep in the woods and starts getting cocky again, saying they need to get it for him, the hero. But Kanad and Tanya shut him down real quick. Rain calms them with some head pats. Back in the woods, Rain's planning their next move while the girls complain they shouldn't have taken this mission. Tanya flips her hair and boasts she could take down the Demon King solo. Kanade asks if Rain's really okay helping the hero party, and he just pats their heads again. Tanya questions the sudden head patting, and he apologizes, but Kanade's totally cool with it. Rain tells them he's just happy they got angry for him, but they still need to help Arios since he's the only one who can defeat the Demon King. Tanya tells him he's too nice for his own good, so they have to look after him. Rain thanks them both, and Tanya says they need a plan. Rain calls a bird, saying he'll assimilate with it to check out the forest from above. He maps their path with help from other birds, returns to his body, and tells them he found the way. They start walking but end up back where they started, finding the same stone they marked earlier. Rain insists they took the right path, so Tanya casts material search and magical light bubbles guide them to a giant tree in the middle of the forest. She explains the tree is casting illusion magic that made them walk in circles. Tanya and Kanade start arguing about breaking down the tree. Rain tries to calm them down, asking if Tanya can just break the barrier with magic, but she says it would take too long. Kanad decides to just smash the tree, but before she can, they hear a voice telling them to leave. A young girl emerges from the tree, a fairy. The trio is shocked because humans haven't seen fairies in 200 years. The fairy tells them to get lost and threatens them with magic. They run away and discuss why she's so cold when fairies are supposed to be friendly. Rain thinks she's protecting something. Tanya suggests they distract the fairy while Kanad breaks the tree, but Rain wants to try talking to her again. When they return, the fairy tells them to leave again. Rain offers to let her attack him if it will help her trust him, asking only that she not hurt his friends. She shoots magic arrows that cut him, but he doesn't move. She can't believe he's just standing there taking her attacks. Kanade and Tanya jump in front of the next volley of arrows to protect Rain, and the fairy stops. They defend Rain, saying he's against destroying the forest, and start arguing with each other about who actually wanted to destroy it. The fairy is surprised to see them protecting a human and finally extends her hand to Rain, introducing herself as Sora. Rain takes her hand, and she agrees to hear them out. So the fairy girl finally finishes, telling them about the shield of truth. She's put up this barrier and she's like, I'm not taking it down. Sora explains that the barrier's hiding the path to the fairy village, and she can't put her people in danger. Tanya's suspicious, saying it seems like she might be protecting some monster, but Sora's like, nah, that monster story is totally made up. It's actually us fairies who protect the shield of truth. Then she's like, you know what? I'll just hand over the shield. She does this quick disappearing act with her magic and poof, she's back with the shield and gives it to Rain. He asks if she's really sure about this, and she says she hates humans, but monsters? She hates those even more. The trio is super pumped. They got the shield. Rain asks if there's anything he can do to repay her, but Sora's like, nope. She explains that the fairies made this deal with the last hero to protect protect them, and now they're passing it to the next hero. Tanya reassures Rain that Sora seems cool with them taking it, so they decide to head back to the city. Rain thanks her, and she just tells him to leave. But as they're walking away, Sora looks like she wants to stop them but holds back. Rain senses something's up and heads back to her. He asks what's bothering her and promises to listen. She starts to say something but stops herself. In her head, she's thinking about how he stood up to her earlier, and she's worried he'll try to help and get hurt. Rain tells her that even if it's dangerous, he wants to help. Tanya chimes in that Rain is just too nice and won't take no for an answer. Kanade adds that they're stronger than they look. So Sora opens up about her twin sister Runa. She explains there are other paths to the fairy village, but she and Runa were in charge of the one in the Lost Woods. It was pretty boring, but having Runa there made her love it. One day, they ventured outside the barrier and ran into this monster working for the Demon King. They tried to run, but the monster caught Runa. Rain wonders what kind of monster could take down fairies, and she tells him it was the Shadow Knight. Rain explains that a Shadow Knight is just a C-ranked monster and shouldn't be able to beat an ultimate species like fairies, but it has this ability to nullify all magic attacks. Only physical attacks can hurt it, which is bad news for fairies since they only use magic. Sora continues her story, saying the monster wanted to wipe out all ultimate species that threaten the Demon Lord. He told her to lower the barrier in exchange for Runa, but she refused. She went to the village leader for help, but he told her to just abandon Runa since they left the barrier and had to face the consequences. Sora gets it. The leader didn't want to risk everyone for just one fairy, but she can't abandon her sister. Rain wipes her tears and promises they'll save her sister, keep the fairy's secret, and beat the Shadow Knight. Sora just breaks down crying and hugs him tight. Then we see the Shadow Knight with Runa chained to a tree. Later, Sora tells the gang that the Shadow Knight is demanding she remove the barrier by sundown or he'll kill Runa. She gives them directions to his hideout. Sora wants to come along, but they tell her it's better if she stays behind. If the Shadow Knight sees her, he might realize she broke the deal and hurt Runa. They promise to bring Runa back safely. At the hideout, they come up with a plan and attack together. Rain distracts the Shadow Knight with a fireball. Kanad drops in with a kick from above, and Rain attacks again. The monster figures out they're there to save the fairy and tries to kill her, but Tanya blocks the attack with her wings, grabs Runa, and flies off with her. When the Shadow Knight tries to shoot Tanya down, Kanad and Rain jump in with another attack. The Shadow Knight gets super mad and turns into this crazy whirlwind, tearing up the forest. Rain realizes this is why the Shadow Knight wanted to take the village alone. He tells Kanade they have to stop him before the forest is destroyed. Rain decides to hold the monster down while Kanad hits him, but she's not sure her attack will be enough. Rain says he'll handle the rest and makes a contract with these creatures called Arabees. He sends the bees at the Shadow Knight. Their stings might not work, but they'll keep him distracted. While the monster's distracted, Rain casts a spell to boost Kanad's powers, and bam, she punches a hole right through him, killing him instantly. Kanad's all excited, asking Rain what he did to her, and he explains that thanks to Tanya's power, he was able to cast a spell to temporarily boost her abilities. Tanya interrupts to say Runa is just sleeping and is fine. She asks Rain how he learned that boost spell, which she thought was lost. He tells her he learned it in his hometown. Kanad interrupts, all excited about striking a victory pose. While they're talking, Runa wakes up, asks who they are, and Rain tells her Sora sent them. Back at the barrier, Runa and Sora have this super emotional reunion. Sora thanks them for saving her sister, but Rain says it's no big deal. Sora wonders what might have happened if Rain hadn't shown up, and Runa jumps in with some lewd scenario, teasing Rain that his male instinct must be painting quite the picture. Sora gets mad and chases her around, the two of them bickering. Rain thinks to himself that they look identical, but their personalities are total opposites. Kanade tells them they can live together now, but the fairy sisters say they have to leave. Sora says she can't live with people who would have abandoned her sister. Rain warns them to be careful out there. Runa admits she doesn't want to be captured again and is worried because they don't know where to go. That's when Kanad jumps in and asks them to join their party. Tanya agrees, and Rain asks the fairy sisters if they're okay joining a party with a human. Sora tells him he taught her that some humans are actually good, and while she doesn't trust other humans, she trusts him. Runa says as long as her sister's cool with it, she's in. Rain is pumped and welcomes them aboard. The sisters tell Rain to form a contract with them. He's a bit nervous because while he knows how to tame different beasts, and even Kanad and Tanya, fairies are like a whole new puzzle. Tanya teases him, and Kanadi encourages him, so he gives it a shot. He does his blood and palm ritual, and even though he's not sure what kind of magic he needs, somehow the right magic structure comes to him. Rain performs the spell, and asks the girls to speak their names. They do, and boom, the link is formed. They all check their hands to see the pattern. Tanya and Kanade start cheering, but the spell really drains Rain and he almost falls over. Sora and Runa catch him and tell him to lean on them. Tanya and Kanade watch in horror as the two sisters thank him happily and call him Master. After they leave the woods, Rain takes the shield to the hero party while the girls hide behind a plant, watching them. They discuss and agree that they'll jump in if anything starts happening to Rain. Rain hands it to them as they look at him in shock. Arios says it has only been 2 days since he left, and Rain tells him that they got it in 2 days. Arios is shocked, says that is impossible, and tells him it must be a fake. Mina casts a spell on it for appraisal, and confirms it is the real thing. Arios wonders how they got it so quickly, so he looks over and notices the two new girls. Rain blocks them and says it is none of his his business. Rain had made them hide their wings, as it may cause panic if word gets out that way. Arios hands him the money for the job, and he confirms it and turns to leave, hoping never to run into them again. But Agath stops him and asks if he can return to the party. Arios is furious and tells him to stop. Agath tells him that it is clear they need rain, and he even retrieved the relic that they struggled with. Lean and Mina both agree, and Arios realizes that he has no say in the matter. Agatha tells Rain that he promises they will pay and treat him better. He smiles and downplays what happened, making Rain angry. He realizes that they have not changed at all. The girls come out of hiding, and Kanad tells him he should leave. Agath tells him that defeating the Demon King will gain him fame and power. Rain says that he doesn't need any of that. Rain thinks back on his life, and then looks at the girls and realizes that he has got all he ever wanted. He takes their hand and leaves. The hero party truly never changed, as they continued to call him names after he left. They leave Arios alone in the room as he remembers the fight with Rain. He says the pain and humiliation haven't gone away, and he angrily vows to erase Rain. Later that day, as they sit under a tree, the girls ask Rain if someone else apart from the hero can defeat the Demon King. Rain explains to them that the old legend says the Demon King used his powers to control people, and no one could turn against him, so the first hero made a contract with the lords and took their blood into his body. The hero was able to defeat the Demon King using the power of the lords in his blood. He then freed the people and brought peace. Tanya and Kanade tell him that the first hero sounds like a good man, unlike the new one. He explains to them that no matter how strong other people get, they can't defeat the Demon King without blood. But the hero is different, and the blood removes all limits to his growth. He says the power needed to defeat the Demon King is limit break, and only the hero possesses it. Kanade says that Arios is very weak, though Rain tells her that he will eventually grow stronger without limit. Sora tells him that everything he just said sounds like him. She says he forged contracts with 4 ultimate species and gained their power. She adds that with every contract, he has grown stronger. Runa says that he is no longer an ordinary human, and Sora tells him that all this sounds like the limit break ability he talked about earlier. Kanade suggests that Rain forged contracts with more ultimate species, and then maybe he might be able to defeat the Demon King. They all agree that he will make a better hero than Arios. Rain looks at them, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Kanad asks him if he doesn't want to fight the Demon King. Rain thinks about his time with the hero party when that was his goal. When he was kicked out, that goal disappeared. Now he was having fun with the others. He stops thinking and tells them that he would do it if he could. He says that defeating the Demon King isn't like the normal jobs they do, and he says so many are riding on it, so it should not be taken lightly. He then apologizes to them and says he is not mentally prepared to make that decision. Kanad apologizes and tells him that they should have considered how he felt. Rain tells them, with firmness, that he will start thinking about it now. They all happily cheer him on and tell him that they will wait for his decision. Kanade tells him that no matter what he chooses to do, they will always be with him, and he happily thanks them. It is now time for Rain and the hero to choose their paths. Rain wakes up the next morning, looks at the girls sleeping peacefully, and hopes an extra room becomes available soon as the space is already too tight. That morning at breakfast, Tanya reminds him about getting a weapon for himself as they discuss. Runa cuts in to talk about the delicious soup, and Sora admonishes her. Rain says he has enough cash since the last mission so they can go buy weapons. After breakfast, they head out. On their way, Sora and Runa grab Rain's hands tightly, looking around them fearfully. Ray cheerfully tells them that they will be fine. They continue to talk, but the girls scream as 2 gruff-looking men shout Tanya's name. They were both beaten during Tanya's time as the guard dog of Stride Bridge, and the men came to swear loyalty to her. She tells them that she will fight them again once they get stronger. Sora and Runa watch as Tanya and Kanade are able to befriend humans. The kids that always hang around Rain show up thrilled that he has new faces and call them new wives, making Sora embarrassed, and Runa teases her more. One of the little girls called them pretty, making Sora blush, and Runa just laughed heartily and tried to show them her power. Sora and Rain quickly stopped her. As they continue walking, the sisters bicker, and Soa tells her that using magic, they expose their wings. Rain tells them that he hopes they get used to life in the town. They reach the weapon store and proceed inside. The 2 sisters are surprised to see a dwarf, Gantz. Rain tells him he needs a weapon, and Gantz tells him to look around and pick. Kanade tells Tanya that the shop owner is a bit much, and Tanya says out loudly that dwarfs are known for being cranky. He hears them and turns sternly, making Kanade scared. As Rain checks out the weapons, Runa runs in with a whip and asks him to pick it. She starts painting another lewd scene about Rain being a tamer, and Sora is livid with embarrassment as Runa continues talking dirty words. Rain later picks up a dagger, but as he opens it, he feels something is wrong with the blade. Just then, a man walks in and tells Gantz to give him the best weapon money can buy, and throws a bag of coins for him. He handed the man a pretty-looking blade, and the man flexed it a few times before leaving. Rain asked the dwarf if the weapon he just sold was the best he had. He added that the sword looks pretty, but it may not be conducive to use in combat. He tells me that everything in the shop is also on display, and not very good. Gantz burst into laughter and told Rain that he has a good eye. He explained to them that these were weapons he made when he was bored. The twins call him a total ripoff, making him angry. He says he doesn't charge for more than they're worth, and he then reveals some of the good ones he made. Rain asks him why he makes the fake weapons when he can make something as impressive as that. Gantz says that people come in and all they want is a weapon to show off, and then after buying the weapons, they throw them away after they find something new. This made him lose his faith in crafting. He recounts that the weapons are like his children, and he just wants them to go to someone worthy. Tanya gleefully tells the man that she got him, and the both of them hit it off. Rain and Kanad both agree that the two do seem to have a lot of pride. The dwarf asks Rain how he knew the weapons were different. Rain tells him that his job as a beast tamer entails that he observed things closely, so he picked up the habit of observing his surroundings. Kanad and Tanya, as usual, commend Rain for his abilities. Gantz says he likes Rain and would have loved to make him a personalized weapon. They start to celebrate before he finishes, but he interrupts them and says he doesn't have the materials to make a special weapon. Later that day, they all go to the guild and see that it is a little busier than usual. Kanade asks Natalie why it is so busy. She tells them that Arios is recruiting members. She continues to talk, but Rain's mind drifts. Kanade and Tanya notice the change in his mood and ask if he is okay. He pats them on the head and says he is fine now. The girls are totally loving it, their cheeks turning bright red. Sora and Runa are watching this whole scene super closely. Natalie asks Rain about the twins, and they introduce themselves. When she asks about their relationship, Runa does her thing and turns it into something totally inappropriate. Natalie gets the wrong idea, and poor Rain gets all flustered trying to explain while Runa just sits there giggling. Mission accomplished! Rain hands Natalie a document saying he wants to take this job from Gantz to find some mithril ore. Flashback to when they were at Gantz's shop. He told them he needs this special ore to make awesome weapons. Tanya explained these weapons last forever, but the ore is super rare. Turns out Gantz has his own mithril mine from his ancestors. Dude's loaded, but lately, he can't find any ore there. Rain points out it's impossible for a whole mine to just run dry overnight. Someone's definitely behind this. Gantz apologizes for not being able to make Rain a weapon, but our boy's got a plan. The girls immediately catch on and are like, spill it, we'll help with whatever crazy scheme you're cooking up. Rain thanks them and tells Gantz they'll investigate. Gantz worries they might get hurt, but Rain's like, no sweat. When Gantz asks how much gold he wants, Rain just asks for a weapon in exchange. This makes Gantz super happy that someone values his craftsmanship more than money. Outside the guild, the squad decides Gantz isn't such a grump after all. He just really cares about his weapons. They're all pumped up for this mission and head out full of energy. Kanade, Tanya, and Rain are having a great time walking, but when they look back, the twins are totally wiped out and straight up collapse. Rain decides they need a break. Sora apologizes, explaining that fairies have killer magic but terrible stamina. Rain notices a lake nearby and takes them there. The girls beg to go swimming, and Rain's like, sure, why not? Suddenly, Kanade starts stripping right there, shocking everyone. Rain quickly heads into the woods to give them privacy. He makes contracts with two squirrels to alert him if the girls get into trouble, then lies down for a nap back at the lake. Suddenly something grabs Kanade and she screams, waking Rain up. He doesn't get any alert from the squirrels but races to the lake anyway. He arrives ready to fight, only to find it was just a tiny fish grabbing Kanade's tail. Everyone freezes when they see him standing there. Rain spins around super embarrassed and all the girls scream. Later, Rain keeps apologizing like crazy, totally mortified. Sora is furious that he saw her naked. He bows his head, promising to do anything to make it up to them. Tanya just flicks his forehead and tells him to forget about it. They assure him it wasn't his fault since he thought they were in danger. Tanya suggests he should go swimming too, but Sora jokes they might peek at him, making Rain awkwardly decline. They finally reach the mine and hide outside. Rain spots someone might be inside stealing the ore. He notices a feather fall and looks up to see a bird watching them. Another beast tamer must be inside. The two guys walk out and hear them. Rain tells the girls to go easy since he wants to question them, but the girls do the exact opposite and knock them out cold. When Rain asks what happened, Tanya just casually says the guy ran into her fist. The twins offer to check their memories with magic, which surprises Rain. They cast memory search and discover there are 5 more thieves inside, all adventurers. When the twins ask if they've been helpful, Rain thanks them, but they want head pats just like Kanade and Tanya get. He obliges, making them super happy. As they prepare to enter, Rain warns everyone to be careful, since they've been watched from above, meaning one of the thieves is definitely a beast tamer. Inside the mine, the thieves are getting nervous about their missing buddies. The beast tamer warns them intruders are coming and to get ready. As Rain's team enters, a fireball shoots at them, but the fairies deflect it like it's nothing. The thieves attack again, but the twins use magic to tie 2 of them up. 2 more try shooting arrows, but Tanya takes them down super fast, and Kanad ties them up. The last guy asks Rain who they are, and he explains Gantz sent them. The dude tries to stab Rain with a dagger, but Rain drops him with 1 hit. The thief refuses to give up and summons a monster called Behemoth, a serious B-ranked beast. Everyone's shocked, wondering how he tamed something so powerful. He explains he found it as a baby, so he didn't need special powers. He orders it to kill them, and it charges, hitting the cave wall and making everything shake. Kanad and Tanya grab the twins and the tied-up thieves and rush outside, while Rain stays to handle the monster. Outside, Tanya offers to watch the thieves while Kanad goes to help Rain. Inside, Rain's still fighting when a rock falls on his shoulder. The beast almost smashes him, but Kanad saves him just in time. Rain thanks her and asks about the others. He tells her he'll fight the monster while she captures the tamer, explaining the fastest way to end this is to make the tamer call off his beast. The guy yells that they need to die, so no one finds out about the ore theft. Rain twins totally studied the monster's moves and dodges like a pro. He hits it with a fireball to slow it down while Kanad captures the tamer. The jerk says he'd rather die than stop the attack. As the monster keeps coming, Rain remembers what Kanad told him about his abilities being stronger than he realizes. When the monster tries to finish him off, Rain actually tames the beast and breaks its contract with the thief. The guy shouts commands, but nothing happens. The mark on his hand is gone. Kanad is blown away. She's never heard of a beast tamer stealing someone else's monster. The man loses it and starts screaming at the monster, making it unstable. Rain tries to shut him up, but he keeps yelling until the beast goes berserk and tries to kill him. Rain jumps in with a fireball and kills the monster. He explains that even with taming, you can't erase a monster's natural hostility toward humans. It was trying to stay calm, but the man's rage pushed it over the edge. Later, Rain talks to the thieves and learns they were getting payback on Gantz for selling them crappy weapons by stealing his ore so he couldn't make any more. So they spill the whole story to Gantz, and the poor guy feels terrible about scamming people just to brag about his weapons. He's like, man, I should have made stuff I'd be proud of no matter who uses it. Rain steps up and tells him to make things right and actually put some heart into his craft. Gantz is super touched that this kid is giving him life advice. He promises to be honest with his customers from now on. Then he asks Rain what kind of weapon he wants, and Rain says he needs a dagger and a gauntlet. He whispers his ideas to Gantz, and the girls are dying of curiosity. Gantz says he'll get it ready soon, and Rain tells the girls it's finally break time. They're pumped. Later that night, Arios is interviewing people for his crew. This one guy gets rejected, and he's practically begging for a chance. Arios shuts him down because the dude can only tame one animal at a time and can't even fight. The guy tries to argue that he can tame other animals during battle, but when Arios asks if he can handle ultimate species, the guy admits nobody can. Arios tells him to beat it. Mina points out this was their last candidate and starts wondering what Arios is doing. All these qualified people getting rejected because he's comparing everyone to Rain. She's getting frustrated that they're not even trying to defeat the Demon King anymore. When she finally speaks up about his standards being too strict, Arios snaps at her, asking if she thinks his judgment is messed up. She backs off real quick, realizes he's just taking his anger out on everyone. Arios says they need to stay in town longer, and as Mina leaves, she subtly reminds him they have a world to save. Once she's gone, Arios pulls out a ring and says to himself that before saving the world, he needs to use this ring to take Rain out. Next morning, Rain checks in with Natalie at the guild about those ore thieves. Turns out they lost their licenses and got sentenced to hard labor. Rain feels bad about it, and the twins try to cheer him up. Sora reminds him that leaving dangerous people running around would have caused bigger problems. Rain thanks them and takes everyone for a walk through town. The girls are finally comfortable walking around and talking to people by themselves, while Kanad and Tanya are still sleeping at the inn. They spot a hot dog stand, and when the twins don't get what it is, Rain buys them some. They absolutely love it. After eating, the girls ask Rain about what abilities he got from their contract, like how he got powers from Kanade and Tanya. Rain admits he hasn't felt anything new yet, and the girls look super disappointed. They ask him to check if he can access their ultimate magic, which is some advanced fairy-only stuff. Rain checks, but still nothing. The twins are bummed that their contract didn't give him anything cool, but Rain pats them on the head and says he wasn't expecting anything anyway. This makes the girls curious. Why does he have so much faith in them? Sora points out that their village abandoned them when they left the barrier, but Rain never leaves anyone behind. Runa adds that he already has 2 strong companions but still treats them like they're useful too. Rain opens up about why things went wrong with the hero party. He didn't trust himself. When they first started out, he had no confidence and worked super hard to be useful, but they kicked him out anyway. He wonders if things might have been different if he'd trusted them more. The girls shut that down fast, saying the hero party people were just jerks. Rain says he can't change the past, but with his new crew, he wants to build real trust. He sees the twins as true comrades, which makes them super happy. The girls start arguing about food, so Rain suggests they get the others for lunch. But suddenly, this voice interrupts them. Some dude starts hitting on the twins, saying he'll make them his. The twins clap back with insults, which only makes the guy more interested. Rain steps in to protect them and asks who this creep is. The guy introduces himself as Edgar Fromware, the local lord's son, bragging that he can give the girls a life of luxury. The twins shut him down hard, but a crowd is gathering around them. Edgar sends his guards to grab the girls by force. When Rain refuses to hand them over, Edgar orders his men to attack, but surprise! Rain wipes the floor with all the guards. Edgar doesn't give up though. This dude laughs like a villain and has his remaining guards take random townspeople hostage. He tells Rain the town will pay for his refusal. Rain's trying to figure out how to save everyone at once, since the hostages are all spread out. Sora offers to help with magic, but Rain worries about exposing their fairy secret. Then suddenly, Rain discovers a new magic in his mind. He casts multiple fireballs at once and takes out all the guards. The twins are shocked. He just performed consecutive incantation, which is supposed to be a fairy-only skill. Rain points his sword at Edgar and tells him to get lost. Edgar leaves, but threatens that Rain will regret this. Everyone thanks Rain for saving them, but this old lady warns them they should leave Horizon and go far away. Meanwhile, Arios is watching from above with an evil smile, holding that ring in his hand. Back at the inn, Runa tells Kanade and Tanya everything that went down. They're all talking about Rain's new magic skills. Rain says his magic control is way better now, and Sora figures out that their fairy magic control has helped Rain handle the power he got from Tanya better. Runa is stoked that they're finally useful to Rain. Kanade gives them props, and Tanya's bummed she slept through all the action. Kanad's furious about Edgar and starts calling him all kinds of names. Rain explains that according to the townspeople, Edgar kidnaps women and locks them in his mansion. His father uses his power to silence the victims. When Kanad wonders why the knights don't arrest him, Runa explains he's been investigated, but they couldn't find evidence. Tanya gets so mad she wants to burn the mansion down. Rain tries to calm her down, saying they can't just charge in, but Tanya's worried Edgar might come after the twins or other townspeople for revenge. Rain thinks about the townspeople and says he wants to save them all, but admits he's not a hero. He remembers the old woman telling them to leave town. Kanad calls him out, saying running away won't help the town. He's surprised they read his mind so easily, and Tanya flicks his forehead, saying she knows he wants to save everyone but feels he has to choose between his team and the townspeople. Sora and Runa tell him it's a lot to carry other people's problems, but that's just who he is. All the girls agree. They want to stay and save the city instead of running. Rain thanks them and says he'll stay to help as they all cheer him on. Later that night, Edgar and his dad were wrapping up their conversation, and as his old man was heading out, he told Edgar to hit him up if he needed help. Edgar was like, nah, I got this. Then he turns to his guard Gillet and asks about what went down earlier. Gillet's all, if anyone files a complaint, I'll take care of them. Edgar tells him to track down Rain and bring him in, even tossing money at Gillet with a bonus if he delivers. After Gillet leaves, Edgar's just seething, remembering what Rain did to him, swearing to make him regret it. Then he rings this bell, and a terrified young girl shows up. This dude straight up grabs her by the hair and throws her to the ground. He starts beating her up while smiling like some total psycho, while the poor girl weakly begs for someone to help her. The next day, Rain and Kanade head to the Order of Knights, and Kanade's pretty nervous about going in. They tell the receptionist they want to file a complaint against Edgar for assault. The receptionist looks shocked, but then some random knight butts in saying it was just a minor scuffle and not worth investigating. When Kanade tries to argue, Rain stops her. The knights start cracking jokes about the whole thing like it's no big deal. Walking back to the inn, Rain explains to Kanade that the knights are probably working with Edgar, which is why nothing ever gets investigated. Suddenly, Kanade stops. She senses someone in a dark alley. A female knight steps out, and Kanade calls her out for following them. The knight's hands go up like, you got me, and says she just wanted to talk. She apologizes for the sneaking around, and Rain's surprised when she actually bows to them. She introduces herself as Stella in Place, vice captain of the Horizon branch of the Order of Knights. After Rain and Kanade introduce themselves, Stella thanks Rain, saying she heard how they took down the Ebonfangs. She admits she's ashamed that the knights failed to protect people both then and now. Stella spills the tea that she wants to take down Edgar's family for all their crimes and needs their help. Most of the knights are corrupt and working for Edgar, covering up his crimes, and their leader Gillet is in on it too. Despite her rank, she can't trust anyone in the order and is desperate for their help. Rain's thinking this could be a trap, but Kanade jumps in saying they can totally trust Stella. She's not giving off any bad vibes. Rain agrees to help, and Stella is hyped, thanking him like crazy. She asks why he's going after the Lord of Horizon, and Rain's just like, we saw bad stuff happening and decided to do something about it. Stella's shocked that's his only reason and starts laughing, saying his attitude is charming. Then tears start falling, and she wishes she'd done something sooner. Rain smiles and tells her it's not too late, and they shake hands. Kanade jumps in all excited about taking down the Lord and the Knights. Stella reminds them they need proof, or they could be charged with treason. Rain's got this sly look and says they can bring them all down at once with a trap. That night, they all meet up to plan, with Stella bringing some knights she actually trusts. In the morning, Rain goes to pick something up from Gantz. Meanwhile, at the Order of Knights, someone delivers a message to Gillette. That night, they're all on a rooftop, and Stella's impressed that everything's going exactly how Rain predicted. Runa's bragging that this will be easy, but Sora warns her not to jinx it. Rain gives the signal to start the plan. Down below, Gillette's telling his knights about a rumor that there's a warehouse with evidence of them working with the Lord. He claims he doesn't believe it, but if that proof gets out, they're all toast, both them and Edgar. Gillette tells them they need to handle this without Stella finding out. The knights roll up to the warehouse, and Gillette orders them to destroy any evidence they find. As soon as they enter, bam, something hits them. They try to get out, but the door slams shut. Outside, the twins are casting a spell to seal the doors. Inside, Rain's going ham on the knights with this special gauntlet Gantz made for him. That's what he picked up that morning. Gantz also mentioned the dagger might take longer to make. Stella's seriously impressed with Rain's new weapon. Rain tries to shoot Gillette, but this dude blocks it with his sword. Gillette spots them, and Stella tells him to surrender, saying her allies are already taking over the branch office. When Stella tells Rain they need to finish this, Gillette realizes who Rain is and declares he's gonna capture him for Edgar. Stella asks to handle Gillette herself, and Rain's like, go for it. She goes down to face him, and Gillette threatens her with execution for treason. They start fighting, but he distracts her and lands a hit. Rain calls out worried, but she tells him she's good. Gillette tells her there's no justice in this world, and she remembers how she used to look up to him when they were younger. Stella charges at him with everything she's got and slashes him down. As he falls, she angrily tells him he abandoned justice for greed. Back at Edgar's mansion, this dude is losing it after hearing about Gillette and his knights getting arrested. He takes it all out on that poor girl, beating her senseless defenseless. Edgar's all, "I've got tons of guards, they can't touch me." But then, out of nowhere, Arios shows up at his window saying he hates Rain just as much as Edgar does. Edgar finally realizes Rain and Stella teamed up for the takeover. Arios tells him that Rain tamed an ultimate species and Edgar doesn't stand a chance. He says Rain's gonna take everything from Edgar and destroy his lifestyle. Edgar's furious, screaming that he owns the city. Arios hands him a ring, saying it brings death to its target and that negative emotions make it even more powerful. As he disappears, he tells Edgar to use it to kill Rain. The scene changes to a young fox-like girl chilling on a porch, singing and thinking about how nice everyone is to her. Then we see the same girl, but she's locked in a cell, all beaten up. It's Edgar's punching bag. She's whispering for someone to help her. Next up, Stella and her knights are trying to get into the Lord's mansion, but the guards are blocking them. She says she's there for an inspection, and when they ask for Gillet, she tells them he's been arrested for corruption. The guards still won't budge. Kanade and Tanya step in, hyping up Stella as this champion of justice in this super dramatic way. Stella's totally embarrassed and begs them to stop. She commands the guards in the name of the king to stand down, but they call for backup, and suddenly there are hundreds of guards ready to throw down. Kanade and Tanya are pumped for a fight, and Stella thanks them for the help. Inside the mansion, Edgar hears the battle outside and grins wickedly. The gate explodes and in walk Kanade and Tanya. Edgar recognizes them as Rain's servants and looks at his ring, thinking if he kills Rain, their contract will end and maybe he can become their new master. Meanwhile, Rain and the twins sneak into a dark room in the mansion. Rain says the plan is working. They use the commotion outside as cover to get in. They discuss how to rescue the kidnapped girls, but Runa gets too excited and starts shouting. Sora tries to keep her quiet. Rain says they need to move, and Runa shouts again in excitement. Sora tries to shut her up. Runa casts a material search spell, and Sora explains that all humans have magic, and the spell will help them find the victims and teleport them out. Rain and Sora go over the plan to catch Edgar. Runa tells them she senses huge magic below them, probably a kidnapping victim, but also another powerful magic source that doesn't seem human, so she's saying the magic power they're sensing is on the same level as theirs. Rain is totally shocked. What the heck is an ultimate species doing in this creepy mansion? He tells the twins to go save the victims while he checks out where that crazy strong magic is coming from. The twins are worried it might be too dangerous, but Rain just pats their heads and thanks them for caring. He explains he can't use teleport magic, so he won't be much help with the rescue, and he's sorry they have to reveal their true selves in front of strangers. The girls are like, "Dude, how can you be worried about other people right now?" Then Runa gets all serious and tells him he's gonna be punished if he doesn't come back safe. Rain promises he'll return in one piece. Next thing we know, Rain's heading toward this door, tracking down the magic source. He opens it up and finds someone locked in a cell. It's an ultimate species, a freaking demilord. As she starts waking up, Rain rushes in and breaks the lock, totally startling her. He immediately casts a healing spell on her wounds. He tells her she's safe now and introduces himself, then asks for her name. The girl, with tears in her eyes, says, "Nina," and hugs him tight. Now we flash back to when Nina was kidnapped as a kid. This creep Edgar is checking her out, bragging about scoring an ultimate species. He tries to grab her, but she shields herself with magic. This ticks him off, and he orders his guards to hold swords to the other kids, threatening to hurt them if she doesn't cooperate. Nina begs him not to hurt the children. Edgar hands her a slave collar and forces her to put it on. Once she does, it completely blocks her magic, and Edgar beats her up while laughing like a total psycho. Back to the present, Nina finishes her story, telling Rain she's been trapped there alone and in pain this whole time. Rain tells her she's incredibly strong and gently pats her head. When he tries to remove the collar, she backs away scared. Nina says the spell on it is too powerful, but Rain reassures her she can trust him. Eventually, she agrees to let him try. Rain focuses hard, attempting to overwrite the spell on the collar, but it fights back, hurting him in the process. He doesn't give up though. Nina starts crying, begging him to stop and just leave her behind, saying nobody would miss her anyway. Rain holds her close and with a smile says, "I would." Then he remembers all the powers the girls shared with him and realizes he's not alone in this fight. Using everything he's got, he finally breaks the spell. The magic drain nearly knocks him over, but Nina catches him. As she hugs him, she tells him she doesn't want him to suffer because that would make her sad too. Outside the mansion, the guards are still trying to defend the place. Tanya is already bored with the fight, and Kanade's teasing her about it. The guard leader orders his men to grab the women as hostages, but suddenly, bam, fireballs rain down as the twins appear. They announce they've already moved all the prisoners to safety, so they don't need to hold back anymore. Tanya cracks her knuckles with a grin, and Kanade jumps around excited as they go all out against the soldiers. Stella tells her knight to arrest the guards once they're down, while she heads inside to personally arrest the Lord's family. Edgar watches everything from his window. His dad walks in asking why he couldn't handle this mess. Edgar tells him to escape while he destroys all the evidence without proof. The knights have nothing. His father seems pleased with the plan and leaves. Meanwhile, Rain's carrying Nina on his back when the girls spot them and call out. He introduces Nina, and they all scream in unison, "You picked up another girl?" Rain starts stammering, totally confused, until they start teasing him. Tanya admits they're just joking. The twins already filled them in on everything. They start chatting with Nina, but of course, Runa drops one of her inappropriate comments again. Kanade goes nuts, rubbing her face against Nina's fluffy tail, and assures her they're all there for her before crushing her in a massive hug. They're all talking over each other while Rain watches them with a happy smile. Stella catches his attention and praises him. They both agree it's not over until they arrest the Lord and his son. Right on cue, the Lord runs out and spots them. Stella demands he surrender, but he refuses. Rain uses his gauntlet to tie him up, and the guy falls flat on his face. Edgar bursts out and points a ring at Rain, yelling, "Die!" Suddenly, creepy magic pours from the ring, forming a freaking Grim Reaper. The Reaper attacks Rain, and Kanad tries to stop it, but it still hits him. Outside, this dude Arios is watching from a distance, super happy that his plan worked. He says he can finally sleep well and flies off. Rain opens his eyes and is shocked that he's still alive. Kanad hugs him, totally relieved. Everyone's checking him for wounds, but Rain insists he's fine. Sora explains they just witnessed Deathscythe, the legendary instant death spell that should have killed him on the spot. They're all wondering how the heck he survived. While they're brainstorming theories, Runa suddenly casts a poison spell on him. It doesn't work, and she shouts victoriously, but Sora grabs her by the neck and starts yelling at her. Tanya and Kanade join in when they realize what she did. Runa explains that Rain got a second power from their contract. Status effect, nullification. That's why the instant death magic didn't work. Runa seems pretty pleased with her experiment, but Sora is not having it and continues choking her angrily. Nina's freaking out from all the chaos, so Kanad tries to calm her down. Rain and Tanya both agree. Sora is seriously intense. Meanwhile, Edgar's watching them from the balcony, getting more and more jealous of Rain. His rage finally boils over, and he smashes the ring, releasing a giant purple blob that attacks and swallows him whole. The blob grows massive, and Rain tries to stop it with a fireball, but the thing just solidifies and starts cracking open. A demon emerges and thanks them for awakening him. Rain realizes with horror that this is the same demon that burned down his village. The demon casually says he'll kill them all as a thank you. Next up, while the demon is still making threats, it suddenly flies out of the mansion toward the town. Rain realizes its real target is the townspeople. He doesn't want to put the girls in danger, but when he turns around, they're all smiling at him, ready to fight. He asks Stella to protect the townspeople and Nina. Nina wants to help too, but Rain tells her she doesn't have to. They all assure Nina they can handle it and ask her to wait at the mansion. The demon has already reached the city center and started blasting houses while people run for their lives. As he's mocking the humans, Kanad delivers a savage kick that sends him crashing to the ground. The demon trash talks Rain's team, but Rain promises they'll destroy him. The demon just laughs in their faces. While he's running his mouth, Kanade, Tanya, and Rain launch their attack. Rain ties him up with the gauntlet, but the demon breaks free instantly. What he doesn't notice is the twins preparing a spell behind him. They blast him with a powerful beam, but when the smoke clears, the demon is completely unharmed. Feeling cocky, he summons a bunch of monsters as backup. Rain and his team easily wipe them out, with Tanya commenting on how useless they are. The demon boasts he can summon unlimited monsters and creates even more. When Kanade charges in, the demon hits her with a beam. Rain rushes to check on her, while Tanya unleashes her dragon breath on the monsters. Rain and the twins use healing magic on Kanad until she wakes up. Tanya tries to blast the demon with dragon breath, but he counters and overwhelms her with his beam. Rain rushes to her side, relieved to find her unharmed. The demon then launches multiple beams into the sky that rain down on the city, setting everything ablaze. Rain fires multiple fireballs as a distraction, allowing the twins to hit the demon with a light blade that freezes him temporarily. Rain powers up Tanya and Kanad and tells them to finish him off. They hit him with lightning-fast attacks, with Kanad going for the killing blow, but surprise, the demon is completely fine. With just a flick of his finger, dozens more monsters appear. He flies off to destroy the rest of the city while they're busy with the monsters. Tanya tries to stop him, but gets blocked. Rain says he has a plan, but warns that people will be attacked by monsters in the meantime. This frustrated him as he didn't know how to help them. Sora told him they could help. Runa then suggested using teleport magic to get people to safety. Rain thought it was a good idea, but was concerned about the girls' identities. They reassured him, saying they didn't mind and that they wanted to protect the city as much as he did. Rain was pleased with their willingness to help. Okay guys, so meanwhile we see Arios and his squad hanging at their place. Agath and Mina are like, we should be out there fighting, but Arios shuts that down quick, saying their only real enemy is the Demon King. Lean backs him up, thinking it might just be a rumor. Then Agath's like, but what if a demon really did show up? Arios gets super annoyed and asks if they're questioning his hero judgment, and they're like, no way! Truth is, Arios knew all along about the demon sealed in that ring, and all he can think about is taking Rain down. He's totally confident that Rain won't survive his instant death spell. Over with Stella and the Knights, they're busting their butts trying to make an escape route for civilians, but they're stressing that these monsters are way too powerful. Stella tries giving this motivational speech to boost everyone's spirits, but then the twins jump in with their idea to move citizens using magic. Stella's down to help, and after the twins thank her, she takes off to round up people for evacuation. The twins promise Nina they'll keep her safe and start prepping their spell. Meanwhile, Tanya and Kanade are going ham on the demons, clearing a path for townspeople to escape, but these monsters just keep coming in bigger waves. When Stella comes back with a bunch of people, she explains how the magic circle will get them to safety, but when everyone sees the twins, they realize they're fairies and start whispering, refusing to use the circle. The twins get all sad that nobody believes in them. Then out of nowhere, that hot dog vendor bartender from before walks up and asks how his food was. The girls tell him it was awesome, and he just walks right into the circle. Then that little girl who called them pretty follows him in, and soon everybody's joining in. The girls successfully teleport everyone out. Stella asks for more people to step up, but a knight warns her that monsters are coming, freaking everyone out. Sora tells Runa to handle the monsters while she takes care of teleporting people. Rain and his crew are getting super tired fighting all these monsters. Right when they're about to get overwhelmed, those dudes Tanya beat up at Stride Bridge show up to help. They tell Rain they didn't come alone and explain what went down at the guild. Natalie had told all the adventurers that Rain's party needed backup and warned them that without their help, Horizon might be toast since the hero party was Mia. Then Gantz walked in, offering weapons to anyone willing to fight, and everyone jumped at the chance. These guys hold off the monsters, giving Rain's party an opening to push forward while they handle things. Rain's just blown away by everyone putting in so much effort to help. At the teleportation station, Stella and the knight are fighting off monsters like crazy. Sora keeps moving people while Runa blasts monsters with her magic. Nina looks around seeing everyone working so hard, but she's scared because she doesn't want to hurt anyone or get hurt herself. Sora turns around and can't spot Nina anywhere. Rain tries casting a spell, but the demon lord's too far away. He tells everyone he needs to get face to face with this dude. Kanade suggests Tanya turn into a dragon and fly him there, but Tanya admits her dragon form isn't stable, and if she attacks from far away, monsters will just block her again. When she asks about teleporting, Tanya explains they need instant teleportation, which the twins can't do. Suddenly, Nina runs up and hugs Rain, saying she wants to help. Kanade and Tanya get this light bulb moment and tell Rain that Nina can cast the instant teleportation spell. Rain explains to Nina that he needs to get to the demon, and Nina's like, I can do it. The girls tell Rain to go ahead while they handle the monster horde, telling him they believe in him. Rain picks Nina up and makes a run for it. The demon's wondering what this guy is trying to do alone and attacks, but Rain dodges like a pro. The demon keeps coming at him, but Rain's too quick. When the demon sends a massive beam their way, Nina instantly teleports them right next to the demon, totally shocking him. Nina keeps zapping them around, making the demon look like a fool. Rain powers himself up while the demon trash talks him. The demon sends his minions after them, but suddenly Rain appears right in front of him and hits him with a spell. The demon's power almost overwhelms him, but Rain remembers his friends and makes the spell work, stealing control of all the monsters. The demon can't believe it. The girls are cheering Rain on from below as they watch the action. The demon breaks free from the binding spell and tries to attack, but Rain sends all the monsters to attack him instead. The monsters take him down as a bright light explodes in the sky. As he's disappearing, the demon asks for Rain's name, but Rain refuses to tell him. Rain watches as the demon completely vanishes. Nina passes out, and they start falling, but Tanya catches them just in time. They all stand together watching the sunrise. It wasn't perfect, but Rain's happy they kept the city safe. 3 days later, everyone's helping rebuild the city. Stella got promoted to captain. All those knights who worked with Edgar got shipped to the capital for punishment. Stella tried to find Nina's village, but the villagers had moved after Nina was taken. Kanade has been super helpful with rebuilding. Tanya thought no one knew she was a dragonoid, but turns out everyone figured it out ages ago. Runa and Sora fit right into town life and still can't get enough of those hot dogs. Rain is now the city's champion, though he just calls himself an ordinary beast tamer, even though all the girls know he's special. In the next scene, Rain's party is having a meeting. Nina tells Rain she wants him to make a contract with her too. Rain agrees and does the spell, and Nina says her name to seal the deal. Kanade gets super excited and hugs Nina, then everyone else joins in, nearly squishing poor Nina. Later, Rain meets up with Stella at the guild to discuss working together. The guild used to avoid working with knights, but now they're totally on board since Stella's the captain. The team congratulates Stella on her new position as they talk about everything that went down. Stella thanks everyone for their help. Then Nathalie pulls Rain aside, saying the guild needs to discuss something important with him. She reveals he's been promoted straight to C rank, skipping D rank completely because of his awesome achievements. Rain's confused about why, and Nathalie explains it's because he exposed the Lord and took down an A rank demon. Plus, Stella and other adventurers recommended him. Rain tries to be modest about it, but Tanya flicks his forehead and tells him to just accept it. All the girls agree he deserves it and is being too humble. Nathalie also mentions Rain's getting a big payout. Rain tells the girls they can have anything they want for a celebration feast, and they all start chattering excitedly. Natalie notices Nina, and Rain introduces them. Natalie gets all excited and hugs Nina, then realizes she's a demilord and worries Nina might be mad about being treated like a kid. Nina assures her it's fine. Rain tells Natalie their current room is way too small for 6 people and asks for advice. Natalie suggests buying a house, and explains that the guild acts as property agents and gives discounts, especially for talented adventurers like him. Rain asks the girls what they think, and they all love the idea. Rain agrees, and the girls are absolutely thrilled. Later that day, the squad checks out a bunch of houses, but none of them hit the mark. Natalie's like, alright, this is the last spot I want to show you guys. She claims it has everything they want and fits their budget. Everyone's suspicious like, why didn't you show us this one first? What are you hiding? Natalie finally admits the place is haunted, and Kanade absolutely loses it, while Tanya just laughs at her. Kanade's all, physical attacks don't work on ghosts, you guys. Natalie explains these ghosts are more annoying than dangerous. They flip pillows, make your bathwater cold, swap sugar with salt, put rotten eggs in shoes, and rub curry on clothes. No one wants to buy the place because of it. Kanad's terrified but agrees to check it out anyway. They all go inside while Natalie stays outside. Smart move, honestly. Once they're upstairs, Nina sneezes and everyone freaks out, but then they notice the house is way too clean for a haunted place. Suddenly everything starts shaking, and this woman named Tina appears, telling them to get out. Kanad screams her head off. The twins try using magic on her, but she comes back even angrier. As they're discussing what spells to try next, Tina starts throwing a total tantrum. Tanya notices something weird. Tina can't actually attack them, so Tina decides to pick on Kanad specifically, popping up right in front of her face. Kanad screaming, but then something amazing happens. Her fear hits max level and she just snaps. She starts attacking the ghost like a feral cat, even managing to tear Tina's clothes. The tables have completely turned, and now the ghost is the one running for her life while Kanad chases her down. The twins cast a barrier spell to block Tina's escape, and Tanya finally manages to calm Kanad down. Kanadi returns to normal, with zero memory of her ghost hunting rampage. When Tina tries attacking Rain, he just calmly extends his hand and somehow tames her. She freezes midair. Rain explains that a dude from his village taught him phantom taming when he was young. Tina's freaking out like, that doesn't explain how you can control ghosts. When Tina tries to grab him again, she faceplants hard. She gives up and tells Rain to just burn her already, but instead, he introduces himself and offers his hand, saying he just wants to talk. She laughs and calls him a total weirdo. Later, she introduces herself as Tina, a former maid who died 30 years ago. She explains she's not tied to any location, and when Tanya asks how she became a ghost, Tina reveals her boss was a pervy womanizer who killed her. Rain asks what she wants to do now, and Tina's like, well, since I couldn't scare you guys off, I guess I'll leave. Sorry for the trouble. Rain checks if Kanad's still afraid, and she admits she is, but thinks she could get along with Tina if everyone's around. Rain gives her a head pat, and then offers to let Tina stay with them bonus. Her haunting makes the house super cheap. Tina's shocked but decides to stay, even though she's not sure she trusts Rain yet. Tanya explains that Rain's just naturally kind, and everyone welcomes her to the group. Later that day, Rain signs the house contract at the guild. Natalie's impressed he convinced a ghost to join his crew, and Kanad mentions they're throwing a housewarming party. Rain says they need to run errands, and Natalie tells him that Horizon is now his home, which hits him right in the feels. At the market, this dude Arios tries getting free fruit because he's low on funds. The townspeople are already glaring at him while his friends make smug comments. The shopkeeper apologizes but says he has nothing to give. Arios goes on this big rant about how he's on a journey to save the world, but the shopkeeper fires back that they didn't even help save Horizon. His friend Lean suggests they try somewhere else, but another vendor tells them nobody's giving them handouts. The townspeople start calling Arios names and mocking him for hiding during the attack. Arios loses it, draws his sword, and destroys a stall before storming off. When someone mentions Rain, Arios gets even more furious. That evening, Rain and Kanade return from the market loaded with gifts from the townsfolk. When they reach their house, Kanade runs ahead and greets him with a welcome home at the door, and Rain is just so happy to finally have a place to call home. During dinner, everyone praises Tina and Runa for making tons of food, though Tina admits she can't taste it and just followed recipes. Runa brags about helping, while Kanad and Tanya argue over meat versus fish. Nina thanks Rain, making everyone pause. She tells him she's not alone anymore. Rain remembers his lost home and how empty he felt before meeting them. All the girls thank him, and Tina comments on how lucky they are, but they tell her she's one of them now too. Rain thinks about how empty traveling with the hero party felt compared to being with these girls. He even thinks about his parents. Suddenly, everyone stares at him because tears are streaming down his face. Super embarrassed, he claims he's crying because he's hungry, and the girls immediately start offering him more food.